Today we're going to be taking a look at the Prodigy A series. We got the A3, the A1, the A2, and the A5. We're going to be answering 3 questions for you. Which one's the most overstable? Which one is kind of the pushiest slash maybe goes the furthest? And last but not least, out of the 8 that Prodigy sent me, how many of them have bad flashing? Let's get right into it.
There's 3 keys to disc golf: driving, approaching, and putting. You need all 3 to do this disc sport.
Learning. That is the main goal today. Learn the Prodigy A series. I'm relatively familiar with some of these, the A2, the A5. I even put my own A2 and A5 in the mix, as well as all the stuff that Prodigy has sent me. Might as well start with the A5. We got a 400 glow, a 750, and then the Spectrum that some of you might recognize as the Not Zone. Okay, I haven't thrown that one in a while. I forgot how straight it is. That was kind of my original Zone SS disc. Oh, that one's got some beef. Through those first ones, fan grip. Let's try a nice little power grip here. A little better. So we're not going to be throwing them all off of every tee. We'll kind of pick and choose, dial them in as we go. We got the 400 Ultra Soft A3, as well as a 500. Both of them pretty flat. The 400 Ultra Soft is something that I think really so far people have loved. Whoa. I mean, that's money. I thought it was going to be a little beefier, kind of. Seems pretty similar. Let's throw some A2s as well, since we got this beautiful open hyzer. We got a 400 plastic. This is my own A2, board flat. A little more of like a gummy 400. 400 plastic new version here. Little stiffer. These are all pretty flat. And then we got the 400 Ultra Soft as well. So pretty solid little lineup of A2s. Just consistent overstability. Seem pretty similar, maybe a touch more beef. Yeah, that seems to have some beef to it. So when it comes to Prodigy, I think everyone knows that the A series is kind of their bread and butter. Most people, whether or not they like Prodigy, they respect the A series. And I kind of think it's undeniable because straight up, the A series is great. The molds are amazing. There's so much variety, you know, and obviously with the addition of the A5, kind of that zone style of approach disc, kind of rounded out the A series lineup. That's a pretty consistent little lineup right there. So you can't see the basket on this one, but it's about 25 feet right past that little pine tree there. The A5, the newest addition to the Prodigy Approach series lineup. I think it's been out for a couple years now, but it was kind of the missing link, like I said, to complete the A series lineup. And I don't want to call it controversy, but when this first came out, there was mixed feelings. We'll talk about it a little bit after I throw these. This is a beat up Spectrum A5, a little bit flippier. Still obviously consistent, but just beautiful flight. 400 glow, has a little bit of gumminess to it. Feels really, really good. A little more overstability as well. The 750 A5 is gonna be a little bit stiffer. So the Prodigy A1 with the flight numbers 3303 might be the most overstable A series disc. It's also the one that I have almost no experience with. Oh, that's so beefy. I thought I'd get at least like a little bit of drift over. Yeah, I mean, I figured it out, but holy. So let's talk a little bit about the A5. When the A5 first came out, the flight numbers were actually different. From my knowledge, I think it was like a 4, whatever the glide was, -1.1. It's now a 4, whatever the glide is, 0.2. So a little bit more overstable. Was Prodigy trying to make a dead straight zone feeling disc? Maybe. I hope so, to be honest, because that would have been great. And then maybe they just came out a little bit more like your traditional overstable approach disc. But in the initial video that Prodigy released, I think you got Caleb Viska throwing the A5, you got Donnie Ferguson, Midwest Wisconsin guy. The comments on that Prodigy video have some mixed signals. Everyone basically saying, man, I thought this was gonna be like the A series version of the PA4, you know, like really straight, borderline, maybe even flippy with the flight numbers being -1-1, which, man, if you guys know me, you know I love a super beat up approach disc, like zone type disc. And so I would have absolutely loved that. But that's not really what ended up being. It ended up being more that traditional overstable slot, which is fine because it's still a great disc. If you get an A5 in the Spectrum plastic, a lot of times that's gonna be your straightest option of A5, specifically the Luke Humphreys signature series ones. So I wouldn't necessarily call it, you know, controversy, but I think when the numbers switched to 4302, I think that was maybe Prodigy's way of just saying, hey guys, this is still a pushier overstable approach disc, but it's not gonna be that dead straight overstable or stable approach disc, I guess. But I still really think the A5 kind of gained a fan base, you know, gained some love, and now I think in Prodigy's lineup, it's looked at as one of the better, you know, options. Now this brings me to another point, guys. I didn't get the A4. And now the A4, I actually threw last year. I bagged one. I had this old 400G A4. It was a cheat code. And I loved that disc. And then I was playing USDGC course and I launched it over a fence into someone's yard and never saw it again. So I'll definitely be getting my hands on the A4. And the reason I bring that up, and I'll maybe even do a whole separate video on the A4, is that I think what people wanted out of the A5, Prodigy already had in the A4. They just maybe didn't know that. And I think the A4 is probably the most underrated A series disc in Prodigy's lineup. I'm gonna do my best here to show you the capabilities of what a beat up A5 like this one can become versus maybe what you'll get out of a newer stock A5. See how much that just pushes. So that probably went like 300 feet, probably 50 feet short of the basket or so, but it just pushed so straight, a little bit of fade at the end. I'm gonna try and match that line as good as I can with these two. Much like a lot of discs, I think the A5 shines most when it gets a little bit beat up. So you still get that push, but that is much more overstable. About the same distance on it. Okay, the 750, most overstable without a doubt. I mean, you still get that A5 flight, but that thing has some beef to it. I like it. The A3, one of Luke Humphreys' favorite discs. I know when KJ was on the team, he loved the A3. Let's see how this flies on kind of that same backhand shot. Okay, that actually drifts more. Like, they're all flying identical distance, but that A3 actually kind of got more push out of it. Prodigy's overstable mids were kind of late to the party, the MX series. And although I think there's some of Prodigy's better feeling molds, I also kind of think like, well, what if you just beat up your A series to fly as far as a mid-range? And, you know, do you need both? And that's kind of over this month as I build this Prodigy bag, a question I maybe want to try and answer is like, hey, is there really much of a distance discrepancy, or is it just, you know, whatever one feels the best, or can you just go A2, A3, A5 in different stages of wear or something and cover all your bases? 400 Ultra Soft, it is about 39, 40 degrees today, and this thing's still pretty gummy. We'll see how my release is on this. Didn't quite give that the height it needed, but I definitely think the 400 Ultra Soft is gonna be a little more overstable than the other 500 plastic one I have. The chop over forehand is maybe the shot that a lot of players love the A2 for the most. So we're gonna throw a few of them. Huh. Okay, that is definitely the most overstable. The A1 is probably my least favorite A series disc. There's really nothing wrong with it. It's just with the shape it has, it's basically an A2 with a bead. I would just much rather have it without a bead. And more often than not, when I see the A1, it's domey. Okay, I didn't throw that high at all, but holy, is it beefy. Yeah, it's definitely the most overstable. So obviously this video is a little bit more of like my first impressions. I have experience with some of these, others not so much, but we're kind of just running through it right now. We're seeing how they fly. I've thrown these all in the field once, but other than that, really don't know how they fly. So let me know down below a little bit more like detailed, like what would you like to know about the A series? And I think the A series is maybe the one that really has like needs the least amount of questions answered out of the Prodigy series, but still want to cover all the bases. So based on my research today, I think we can safely answer the question of which Prodigy A series is the most overstable, and I'm gonna go with the Prodigy A1. Beefy. If you like a bead, you want something fast but super overstable, the A1 might be for you. Like I said, I think it's Prodigy's least popular A series mold, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It's so overstable. Usable beef. You know, it's not like Zone OS and it's obviously a faster disc, but it's so beefy. Especially that 750. I feel like I can get a little more push maybe out of that 400. All right, 750 A5. Basket's like 10 feet left of where that disc landed as well, in case you can't see it. Can we get around the tree? No, we're short of it. Noodle. We'll see if we can pull it off with the Glow A5 here. One of my favorite A5 shots is kind of that pushover flex forehand, but the one that you never want to actually like fade out. You just want to kind of get it to pan to flat. See what we can do. I thought I got it. Huh. It's interesting because the stabilities of A5s I have right now, they're all a little bit different. This is actually so fun because I feel like it's not so often that you get to get an entire lineup of a disc and just go throw them all and actually compare them. Usually you'd have to drop freaking hundreds of dollars to do this. And then I just get to do it for you guys. This is interesting because I've, at one point, back when I threw that A4 I was talking about earlier, because the A4 and the A3 feel similar, I was like, I should get an A3 as like a little more overstable, you know, counterpart to this super do whatever you want with it A4. And I threw one for like maybe a week, and I liked it, but I didn't love it. I felt like it was a little too fast. And that's kind of what I'm getting out of this right now, is the A3 to me seems almost a little more in that slow mid-range category rather than the approach disc category. It's obviously still an approach disc, but you can get some move on this. Even that ultra soft seemed to really glide. See? Oh my gosh, I might ace it off the tree and in. I really like that one. I thought I kind of had my mind made up on the A3 already, that yeah, it's just overstable, doesn't like do anything crazy. But the way it pushes, it's almost more of that like beat up A5 flight than the A5 out of the box. All right, let's see if we can get a forehand hyzer A2 there. Still a noodle. Well, it did get around it, but I didn't quite fly it around it. That might ace if it gets there. Come on. Wow. Go in. Let me ask you guys a question. I got all the Prodigy series. Obviously, we're going to be covering them, but I guess it's more about how I cover them. Do you like it if I come out to a course that kind of fits that style of disc and just throw a bunch of them on a bunch of shots, on a bunch of shot shapes, and just learn them, you know, for myself with you guys? Or would you rather have like a little more of like a structured plan? I don't know, let me know. Obviously this is kind of the first video of the series of breaking down the specific Prodigy series. And I guess that maybe brings us to another question that we have an answer to. So I think if you had asked me before I started filming today, Rod, which disc in the A series is the furthest flying, you know, one? I would have told you the A5 for sure, because I've thrown it in the past. It kind of bombs sometimes. But honestly, my opinion has changed, and I think I've landed on the A3 for today. And knowing that this thing is still pretty fresh, not pretty fresh, it's literally brand new. I just pulled it out of a box. When this gets beat up, this could be that overstable mid-range in the Prodigy lineup that we're kind of looking at. So maybe in a future video, I'll have to compare the A3 to the MX1 and the MX2. But we remember, I don't have an A4. The A4 potentially is the true furthest flying A series disc, but I guess we'll have to stay tuned, figure that out in another video. But for now, A3. I'm gonna put a disclaimer before this next hole, but it lines up so well. Because of my absolutely astronomical hyzer release on my forehand, I'm so bad at the little pushover annies. But if you look at this, the fairway just makes for a little right to left bend, flatten out. We're gonna throw all the A series just like that and see how they fly. We're starting with the A1. Now it is the most overstable, but I think the hand feel on the forehand is definitely the worst. So we're gonna have to kind of see how these go. We'll call these warm-up throws. Oh, that's actually not a bad throw, but gosh, the bead on the A1 just, it feels so bad for me. Why are these throws kind of cracked though? You know, results, I guess. Oh, wow, what the fuck? I don't know, I assume you can't hear the whistle, but if you've ever not thrown an A3, when you throw them, they go psst, like they whistle, and it's kind of the wildest thing ever. Oh, yes. Wow, that's so good. I love it. Come on. Ah, beefy. Beefy. Yeah, that's my baby. Come on. Skip. There's no skips out here. I'm gonna try and go with like a really cool shot. I'm actually gonna try and aim like up at the pine tree on the right and bring it all the way down kind of that back side. See how that plays. Come on, miss that tree. Damn it, it just needed to miss that. Nah, we'll keep this one inside. Come out of it. If the grass wasn't literally a swamp, these would just slide up there and be so good. All right, that's probably the most forehands I've thrown in a few weeks now, so we're done with those. And now to answer the question we've all been waiting for. Out of the 8 discs that Prodigy sent me from the A series lineup, how many of them have flashing? 400 Glow A5, it's in the clear. The A1 750, it's in the clear. A1 400, maybe a touch, nothing that you would feel and be like, oh, my fingers are gonna bleed, but just a normal feeling new disc. So maybe we'll give that a 0.5. 500 A3 in the clear. 400 Ultra Soft A3 in the clear. 400 Ultra Soft A2. This one I would also maybe categorize as like a 0.5. Like it's the feeling you get from almost any new disc you're gonna feel, but nothing that you would be like, oh, that's gonna cut my fingers. 750 A5. Not even close, in the clear. And then we got the 400 A2. I'd maybe call this a little 0.5er as well. Kind of that like, it's a new feeling disc, but it's not by any means like gonna rip your fingers. So out of 8, 3 of them, we'll say like half flashing. They have flashing. obviously being brand new discs, but nothing that is like overly, you know, an issue. Nothing that I would call an issue at all, to be honest. Is exactly what I would expect out of pretty much any new Frisbee from any company. Before we head out, wanted to throw these all one more time. Backhand as flat as I possibly can. We're gonna be aiming at hole 1's basket actually over here. Just a nice little, probably 250-ish foot hyzer shot. Okay, now I'm just not giving them the respect they need. There it is. Wow, I really enjoy that A3. That is a brick. A few things before we wrap up here. I need to get my hands on an A4 because I think when it comes to the A series, the A4 is maybe the outlier in terms of stability. One of the cool things about the A series from Prodigy is the fact that they have all these different feels, different hand feels, because everyone likes something a little bit different. But for the most part, you're gonna get pretty much the same flight out of whatever one you go with, especially if you get ones that are beat up or maybe different plastics, or you know, you just find the ones you like. You can get the hand feel that you really like, and then they're all gonna kind of fly somewhat similar. Whereas I think a lot of companies just have the one that either, you know, just feels like a zone, and then maybe that, but like slightly beaded, and that's kind of it. Real quick, I hope you're enjoying this, and I want to thank the sponsor of this video, me, myself, and I, and you guys. Some of you may know I recently launched a Patreon, and what is that, you may ask? It's a paid subscription platform that a lot of creators use to honestly have a consistent monthly income. I'm sure a lot of you guys by now know how subscription platforms work, but over the next 30 days, I'm going to be talking a lot about Prodigy discs, pretty much only about Prodigy discs over on this channel that you are currently watching right here. Now on the Patreon, I'm still going to get you guys your casual broad videos, your casual Frisbee club videos, out with the boys, throwing Frisbees, chucking my normal bag, and just having fun, a little more casual style over there. So if you're looking for bonus content like that, there's also 5-6 videos on there right now that you guys haven't seen on here, only available on Patreon, as well as Broad's used bin. What is that? I love used discs, so I've sourced a whole bunch. I stamp them up with my Frisbee Club stamp, throw them on there for sale for you guys. So if you're interested in things like that, that is one of the best ways you can support me, because it is directly to me. I cannot thank you enough. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
Creator of Frisbee Club, motherfuckers.
The man, the myth.
And right here, I have a Frisbee bag. It holds all my Frisbees, the ones I like.